Isn't it? We've told you time and time again here on this channel how the mainstream media seemingly, well, in particular ITV and Good Morning Britain, only want to take the side of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. We saw that, didn't we, with the removal of their chief breakfast show presenter, seemingly because he had a difference of opinion regarding Meghan and her truth, and of course Prince Harry, which then was disputed and proven absolutely false. But as ever, it's the mainstream media that seemingly wants to protect Harry and Meghan. And now there's another person stepping forward, basically claiming that this particular revelation was such a bombshell. They didn't see it coming, they had no idea. And then they realized, of course, exactly what they had. Incredible when you think, because we all know, well, those in the know at least, the real story behind it. As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning. Nice to see you. We're in the middle of London, of course, today. Easter weekend, so whatever you're doing, I hope your plans work out well for you. If you're just having a quiet one at home, yes, happy Easter. Don't eat too much. Don't go overboard. Hopefully you can find a good film. Maybe you can find a free one on YouTube. Yeah, don't get me going, the streaming things. Can't believe how much they are, People actually pay for that. Incredible, isn't it? Where do they get their money? Yes, don't get me going. It's a little bit like, isn't it, these particular mainstream media companies, because they rely on digital advertising and mainstream advertising. And it's interesting as well, because when you look at the cases of Harry and Meghan, you do see that the people are in a divide. There is mainly the mainstream media who recently, for instance, put out a false fabrication how Meghan, the way it read, had won her defamation case against her half-sister Samantha Markle, when it was nowhere near concluded. But the way the headline read was, wow, it's all been dismissed, Samantha's ruined. Simply not the case. What's interesting here, though, is if you cast your minds back to that now infamous interview with Meghan. Do you remember the one where she bit her bottom lip and said, I'm glad you asked that, it's been really difficult, all the while surrounded by very poor people in Africa going through terrible times themselves. But no, it was all about Meghan. And if you remember, it was the ITV presenter, Tom Bradbury, who did that particular interview. Fascinating. Now, the former head of ITN has come out and said they had no idea exactly what an explosive interview they had. It seemingly came out of nowhere. Well, let's just remind the former head of ITN that, in fact, Meghan was fully aware of the questions in advance. She had time to prepare them. She would have known exactly the mood, the look, the pauses, every single aspect of that particular interview, as ever, allegedly. But a good source working on that show said, of course they rehearsed it. She knew in advance exactly the sort of tone, simply as did Prince Harry when he was interviewed by the same interviewer. They knew what sort of point they wanted to get across. And if you remember, this totally overshadowed what had been until that point a very successful royal tour, because the ex-royals then decided to issue litigation against a leading newspaper. So the reason why I wanted to highlight this was this is yet another story circulating around the world that this particular one-time important person in news claims that they did not realize what they'd simply stumbled upon, and what a big bombshell interview it became. Again, total fabrication. They knew exactly before the cameras rolled, exactly, in a way, what Meghan was going to say. So there were no surprises. They were simply rubbing their hands, knowing finally they may have somebody watching their channel. As ever, happy to clear that particular issue up. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.